I direct the Domestic Violence Advocacy Project at New Hampshire Legal Assistance. We represent victims and survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking in their domestic violence protective order cases, as well as their stalking protective order cases. We also represent victims and survivors in their high lethality, divorce, and parenting cases. And so when I say high lethality, we're talking about victims and survivors who are, there's a high likelihood that they will be killed by their partner or seriously injured or harmed in some way. I know that Campbell, you have so much history with this program. You really got us started. You're a founder of DVAP, and I would just really love to hear about the work that you were doing when you were at NHLA and how you got us started on this path.
What's really interesting to me, Erin, is how little has changed in terms of NHLA's role. That when I first started at Legal Assistance in 1977, the only divorces we didn't have the language you have, but the only divorces we did were ones where people were in danger of being seriously injured or killed. And the only tools that we had were to file for a divorce with a request for emergency temporary restraining orders. It was a huge amount of paperwork. So we wanted to streamline the process and allow people to get restraining orders without having to go through a lawyer. So we looked at all the states and what they were doing and took the best, what we thought was the best from different states, and drafted New Hampshire's, the original version of 173B.
So how did that come to be? I mean, I imagine at that time, it sounds like you were really trailblazing this new law, and I'm sure it didn't come easily. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
It was a lot of work. The drafting of the bill and finding a couple of sponsors was the easy part. It was lobbying it through a very male-dominated landscape. We've, of course, had to get the police on our side. They were very resistant. In 1977 and 78, a man's home was considered his castle. Women's safety was not a concern. It was the concern about men's privacy and dominion over their turf. So back in the first legislative hearings on 173B, we had put in a tremendous amount of effort getting survivors of domestic violence to come to the legislature to tell their story as to why we needed a statute like 173B. And we had, I think, about 200 women, some of whom wanted to speak, some of whom had written their stories to submit to the legislature. And the hearing room in front of the House Judiciary Committee was absolutely packed. And the head of a Judiciary Committee let me testify, and as the lawyer who had written the bill, the sponsors testified. I think 2 women testified, and then he closed the hearing and just said that was enough, and sent everybody home. And the news journalists wrote the story up. I remember the headline was, "The committee has no time for women," which was a huge gift to us because it was politically shaming, and they had to reopen the hearing and take the testimony of the women who were willing and able to come back to testify.
I can say for the clients that we have served at NHLA, it has really meant so much. In many cases, oftentimes the difference between life and death. And it's given so many people an opportunity to grow and to blossom and to do so safely. So I'm just so very appreciative of the work that you did to put this in place. It really has made a difference.
Thank you very much, Erin. Another thing that gives me hope, Erin, is how you and the judicial system and the coalition came together to meet the problem of COVID and to figure out new ways of reaching out.
Yeah, thank you. That was really incredible. Just to identify that problem so quickly and then to turn it around. And I would say within a month and a half, maybe 2 months, that we were able to put something in place that, really was it was a game changer. I mean, this is a game changer, and really allowed a process for people to get protected just in a different way. And you're right, it's not just one person, one organization doing it. It's about the collaboration. And having those different players at the table and just putting our heads down saying, how do we do this? How do we fix this? This is the problem. And to just get that done so quickly was incredibly impressive, I think. Everyone had a willingness and everybody was on the same page. And you're right. That says hope to me.
Yeah, that's a huge cultural shift. That there's a whole community of different players out there that are working together on this very serious, potentially lethal social problem.